What's going on, everybody? What's going on? It's Monday evening. Long day. I'm your host, Terrence Pitts, aka Pitts. Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Bowie TV. We got another guest, but she's returning.
Hey
Erica
y'all.
Lynn Moore. What's going on?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
How have you been since the last time me, you, and Push spoke?
Man, I've been good. A lot has happened, a lot of changes, but I've been good.
So we're going to get right into all of that. But before we get started, right? First things I want to do is we're going to do our icebreakers, right?
Okay.
So what's your favorite food?
Okay, no judging or I don't.
Right. No, I know. No judgment. Go. You
Okay.
got
Bar chicken.
bar chicken. Right.
Yeah.
All right. And what is your favorite color?
Green.
Green?
Yep.
Okay. Lastly, I feel like I'm not going to ask you that because
Why?
I already know who your favorite football team is. Duh.
Oh.
So I feel like that'd be okay. Who is your favorite player ever?
Ever? Troy Polamalu. Easily.
Troy can't go wrong with TP.
You can't go wrong with him. There's not he just is the all around GOAT. He's the epitome of what a player should be, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, but then he was able to play reckless abandon. You can't play that way now. If Troy was playing now, Troy Polamalu would have a lot of suspensions.
Yes. He'd owe Roger a lot of money also.
So. Right. And I see him walking away a lot sooner because he like to knock people around. He don't want to just tap you and let you get up.
Right, exactly. That's how I started. I love football because of when it was, football like that.
Talk about the changes that with you playing in the Women's Football League and you hear about the changes that happens in the National Football League. Does it make you apprehensive and still wanting to play it?
Not so much the changes because at the end of the day, football is going to be what football is. There's always going to be that risk, right? I think I don't want to say apprehensive is the word, but there's always some sort of something in the back of your mind, especially when at the end of the day, as a woman professional player, we're not getting paid. So if something happens and I bust up my knee or anything, or I get a concussion and I'm out in real life, and my life, my income, my family, that doesn't stop for football, or it's not, I'm not being compensated for that, for being down. So it's always definitely something in the back of my mind. So I just try to be as safe as possible. I try to be as safe as I can, and I like to lay the wood. I don't, I want to be the hammer, not the nail. So.
Right. So listen, before we get into Pittsburgh passion and New York and future and everything that you got going on, as a Steelers fan, what were your thoughts? If you just sum it up, what were your thoughts of last night's game?
Man, so I usually like to keep what's funny is, so let me just say, right before I logged on, I was on Facebook, and I'm in this group called Black Women Love Football. And I made a post. They do a lot of shit talking. I don't really, I've actually never posted in there, but there were two really dope plays that I loved. And I was like, do y'all ever really talk about football, or is this just a banter thing? And the one play was Lamar when he fumbled the ball and ended up stiff arm. Man, right. Nasty. But we ain't gonna talk about Lamar. But the other play was,
this ain't a Ravens show. No, I'm playing.
The other play was when Fields did the shovel pass to Muth, right? And I said, right, this play is so beautiful because look at McCormick. And I was so disappointed in the women in the group because no one knew what I was saying, right? So someone jumped on, some Buckeyes fan, so I don't even know whoever old girl was, but she jumps on and she's like, oh, you mean Justin Fields shovel pass? I'm like, oh, I get to sun somebody. No, I'm talking about McCormick. he was a pulling, I think he was a guard, but he pulled, and
Right.
instead of hitting who he should have hit, his football
Right.
IQ told
He
him,
went
"I'm gonna
straight
go
for
to
the
the next one."
linebacker.
Yes, and it was, I mean, I guess because I'm a lineman, but it was
Right.
so beautiful to me, and to see how excited he was. But
Yeah.
everyone's move, move, but he really made that play.
Right.
So I was just super excited, and I love plays like that. So yes, I was upset that we lost. I'm not 100% sold on Fields, to be honest. I'm still, the jury's still out. I haven't seen enough from him. But plays like that, and not to mention one of my favorite players had his 100th sack. Who, you can't be mad at that. Like, I'm cool. I'm cool. I was happy with that part of it.
Right.
Obviously not happy that we lost, but I think it was a really, really good game.
Last time we spoke to you, you were playing with the excuse me, Pittsburgh Passion, and then the next year you left and went to New York. Can you talk about the changes and going from Pittsburgh to New York? And for a lot of people out there that are not necessarily fully caught up what it means and what it entails to play in a women's football league, if you can kind of outline that, because you said something earlier that I don't want us to breeze past, but I do want to
Hmm.
come back and shed a highlight on it. You said that for the Women's Professional National Football League, you ladies, women, do not get paid,
Hmm.
correct?
Correct. We
Not
actually
only,
paid
not
to play.
only that, don't you have to pay a fee to play?
Yes, we pay to play.
You pay to play, and you still don't have health insurance or anything else.
No, I think there's like maybe one or two teams that offer insurance. I think the Atlanta team offers in the WFA. But no, we don't. It's basic pay to play. Like when you sign up, they want to see your insurance card. They want to make sure you have your own insurance and stuff like that. Um, they they say that there's a possibility that you can get paid if you have enough sponsorships to cover your fees. Um, and then some teams will kick back, like if you're over your fees, they'll kick it back. But at the end of the day, you're still paying because between travel, equipment, like all of that stuff we're paying for. I made a post about it the other day. Like, I literally pay thousands of dollars each season.
just
So
to
when I'm
play just to play football.
just to play football. Um,
And for
I
those who are watching, we're not talking flag football. We're talking full-fledged contact women's national professional football league football.
Right. Yeah. So that's where we are. I think there are a few, and I will say, like, I'll put that out there. For me, that's why I choose to be the way I am about my brand, because I want sponsors to help alleviate some of that cost. So if I
Yeah.
can get sponsorships to help pay for that, or like pay for my travel or pay for my lodging or something like that, great. That takes let the burden off of me a little bit, but I'm still, even with that, like, I don't even want to say how much I paid last season.
To
But
talk about the experiences that you've had when you played for the Pittsburgh Passion, and then as you then moved from Pittsburgh to play for the New York Wolves.
okay, so Pittsburgh, I love my Pittsburgh team. Pittsburgh really set, and I will say, Pittsburgh sets the standard as far as what a football team, like as far as practicing and setting the standard of where you want to be and how you want to perform. They definitely set the standard, and I'm so, so grateful for my time at Pittsburgh. Um, because I think that if I would have started somewhere else, I probably wouldn't have, I probably wouldn't be even close to the player that I am now. I'm just going to be
Okay.
honest. Um, for me, I wanted to experience a little bit more culture,
Mm.
if you know what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to market myself how I felt necessary. I feel like I'm a pretty responsible person, so being able to market myself how I wanted to, and being putting more of myself out there was really important to me. Like I
Okay.
would never, disrespect the brand or the name or, Franco or any of the owners really. Um, so I felt like I was mature enough to do that. And when I wasn't allowed to do that, I decided that, I wanted to go somewhere else. That was probably the hardest decision. I tinkered with it a little bit, and right before the season started, there was some talk of maybe the season not happening or the team not happening, and to me, that was just my sign. Like I had an opportunity and I went for it.
Right.
Um, I just wanted to experience something different for me. It was like honestly, man, Pitts, I went through a whole grieving process
Mm.
because that Pittsburgh was the only thing I knew. And I had built these amazing relationships, and I think I had a pretty good, stability as far as like, all-American captain, like I felt very stable there.
Right.
So to leave that for an unknown and to leave all those relationships behind,
Right.
because we're not being paid, you have to not only really love the game, but you got to love where you're at, right?
Yes.
So the relationships that I thought that I had on that team, I really had to mourn them. And it took me a very long time to get over that. Um, yeah, so I decided to leave. And I decided to go play for the New York Wolves. The New York Wolves was a D2 team who won the championship, and they were coming up to pro. The reason that I decided to go with the Wolves, I could have went to, a multitude of teams.
Could have
But the
came in.
reason that
Could have went to Baltimore. Could have went
yeah,
to
listen,
DC.
had I had a lot of opportunity. I'm going to say it like that. A ton of opportunity. I could have went almost wherever I wanted to go, right? So respectfully. But what I liked about New York is they had a lot of grit. So when they played the championship game, I was working for Aid Nation and I was on the sideline. And I loved their grit and their they just did not give up. And I loved that. And I had some friends on the team. It was a lot of personality. Um and I thought that given my experience in the pro, I wanted to help build a legacy.
Right.
In my mind, that team really could have went very far.
Mm.
They could have probably been one of the first teams to go D2 and pro back to back to the championship.
Oh, wow.
They definitely had that, and I thought that I also could
Right.
help them get there, because I've been there.
Right.
And then I also brought think like 4 or 5 other players, and it ended up being like 4 players with me. And to me, that was the right combination of what we needed for the championship, what they already had, plus a little, extra guidance. So
Right.
I was super excited to go play for them, and that's kind of how it started last October.
Okay. When you talk about Pittsburgh passion, right, and when Franco Harris passed away, was there any doubt that the league or that there would be some inconsistencies or that there may be issues about fielding the team going forward?
I didn't think because well, I didn't think because Franco left because Coach T really had a strong hold on, like they worked well together. So
Okay.
she always represented him very well, and he obviously represented himself. I mean, it's Franco Harris.
Right.
Dana, his son, Dana and Doc, his son and wife, it was so nice to see them carry on, and I love Dana, man. She's so dope. She was just as ecstatic about football as I would hope that a football wife would be. You know what I mean? Like she really put a lot behind us, and she was really like she's there on the sideline, she's in the locker room. So she was really hands on. So that was really exciting, having her there and having her not say, okay, this thing that Franco was doing, that's enough. She really was carried on the tradition, and
Right. She
and
was
that is one
invested.
thing.
She was invested in it. She had a. She
She
was.
was.
She enjoyed it.
She was. I loved it. She's an amazing person.
When you talk about New York and you talk about it as if past tense, what's in the future? Because You was just invited. You did the Costa Rica, trip where you was able to participate in that game. So
Yeah.
what's in the future for you? Because when you talk about the Wolves, you said it in a past tense presence.
Yeah, so I made my announcement last week that I will be playing for the Chicago Winds,
Okay,
and I will be switching
congratulations.
leagues. Thank you, thank you. I will be switching leagues. I will be going from the WFA to the WNFC,
Okay,
which that I'm super super excited about.
and what's the
I
difference
don't.
between the two?
So I mean, the difference is to me. Everyone's going to have their own different opinion, but the difference for me is the level of play is first. Everyone always says WFA is where you get started. And I'm not saying this, y'all. So don't, I'm just telling you what the people say. They say the WFA is where you start and
Mm,
WNFC is where you really hit, what I'm saying,
okay,
you're on that field. So I'm super excited about the level of play. OJ, the founder, I just love her. And I love her marketing. I love what she's doing for women. She just in 5 years I've seen more growth. It's a young league, but I've seen more growth in that league since inception than I've seen the entire time in the WFA, even now still, in my opinion.
okay,
They just really, really, and people say like, oh, it's too shiny. I mean, just everything about the league, the way they get their sponsorships, like I said, the level of play, the way they treat their all Americans or their all pros, their championship, everything is heightened there. So that appeals to me. It's not gonna be for everybody, and that's
right,
okay too, because you don't have to choose. You have a choice, right?
right,
So I'm excited. That's why I'm excited about it. Someone else it's like a controversial thing. Like they
right.
think that you have to be against each other. And I don't know if that's like a woman's thing. I don't know what that is, but like I believe there's a league for everyone. I've experienced the WFA. There's a little more that I want. So I'm headed to the WNFC and see what that's all about. And I'm excited.
So when you talk about going from the WFA to the what was it, the WNFC?
WNFC. Yes.
Okay, right. And you talk about, it's a difference of level of play. Like, really, it's like this is the field now where it's like, okay, because this is also a professional women's football league as well, correct? And
Correct.
is it the same criteria that you still have to pay for, or I'm sure, as you said, you can have sponsorship, but is it still the same criteria that you don't get paid unless you have sponsorships, but then you still have to pay for your own lodging, flights, etc.?
Um, so I can't speak for every team.
Mm,
I know a lot of the teams in the WNFC do not have player fees, but they do require you to participate in fundraising.
okay,
So when I speak on the Chicago Winds, there are no player fees,
okay,
but you do have to participate in fundraising.
okay,
Um, and I think I think with that participation, for travel players, part of that depends. I think it just depends on the team and on the player.
okay,
I'll say it like that.
okay. What are you most looking forward to in this experience with going to Chicago that you feel like you would have hoped when you went to New York?
Culture and coaching, that's easy. Um, and when I say culture, I don't mean why I left the passion culture. I mean team culture,
Mm,
organization culture.
gotcha.
For me, like I said, passion set a high standard. How many times we practice, how often we practice. When it's 8 o'clock, you're on and lined up, ready to go at 7:55. Like it's there's no bullshit. Like that's when I say like when passion sets the standard, that's what I mean, and that's what I'm used to. So when I went to New York, I don't want to say it wasn't like that, but it was just very very different, very different. And um I think that I was not able to be my best self there because I thrive better in an environment where if I'm putting thousands and thousands of dollars on the line, if I'm putting my body on the line, all for the love of the game, I'm trying to win a fucking championship.
Yeah.
It's no ego. I'm going to work like I am the worst player in the world because I want to be the best. I want to play past June or whatever, right?
Right.
So if I'm doing that and you're not, eventually it starts to be like, what am I even doing? Like,
Is the women's football, professional football league, like NFL ish? You know how it's not minimizing, but meaning it's like it's on that level. You know what I'm saying? Like the WNBA and the NBA to me, because I feel, and a lot of people disagree with me, I feel the WNBA games are a lot more entertaining. You know, they're out there playing for one another, where the men is, no different than other sports. But WNBA is meaning like, is it parallel to the NFL?
well, I would say it like this, and probably similar to the WNBA because I mean they're making money, they make something, but you have to love it to be out there. And I think that's the big difference because I'm not getting 1.2 million. I'm not getting 14 million. I'm not I don't even know what a tackle makes, right? But whatever it is, I'm not getting that.
Right.
So I have to love it and it has to be fun for me to be out there. I think
Correct.
sometimes that gets lost in the money. So I guess you could probably say in that aspect, it is. I love watching the WNBA, especially now that there's, new players in these young kids, these young girls is coming up, and I love it. So I guess I guess you could say that it's kind of like that. I guess so.
So when you talk about, and it's something that you shared, and I think I wanna go back over that. To play in the football league where you don't get paid, to play in a professional football league where you don't get paid, and you had to pay a fee, you had to love the game.
You
And
have
if you
to.
can, because I tell a lot of people, um, you know, don't think a woman don't know the game of football. Talk about, where does your love and your passion for football come from?
I mean, I always was a casual fan, like, oh, Steelers, rah, 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 right? Um, my son played football from little league all the way to college.
Okay.
And I think it was as he started getting, like once he got to high school and he started training with different people, started learning that like really being a student of the game.
Yeah.
And I'm the mom, I'm everywhere. Like we going all right, I'm gonna take you and I'm watching the whole time, like I'm not out there I'm watching everything. So learning the intricate parts of the game and
Yeah.
how it's game of angles, game of inches, it's mine, instead of just you're not just out there, oh, I'm about to hit this moment, but you are, but you're not, you know what I mean? I think that's when I just really started having such a higher appreciation for the game, to be honest, and seeing how he had to go from like he had to fight for everything he had or everything he got. He had to, it wasn't there was no like, oh, it's just, handed to, oh, we're just out here playing football. No, it was, and he went to Pittsburgh Central Catholic, so there wasn't a time with Damar Hamlin and Heinisch and like all them. It wasn't easy. So I think watching him learn and fight, it was really what gave me the love of the game. Took it to the next level.
When you talk about, the average fan, I've had this saying recently, and I don't mean any harm or any disrespect when I say it, but I got to a point where I stopped talking football with people who never played. Um, and what I mean by that is because I'm looking at the game from a different angle than what they are. They're looking at it
Mhm.
from 11 people on offense, 11 people on defense. Why aren't you scoring? Why aren't we stopping anyone? And I tell people a lot of time, and when I'm on with Coach Bernard Clark Jr., head coach at Robert Morris University, I
Mhm.
like to reiterate the points that football is more mental than it is physical.
Mm-hmm.
And the preparation and study is more of the job than going out and practicing. Can you talk about your study habits when you're preparing for an opponent? You know, what are some of the things and some of the rituals that you do when you're prepping for an opponent?
I mean, I think obviously, like any player is going to say, film, 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 film. For me, definitely watching film. I am looking at who is in my spot in film and who is across from me because I'm playing the trenches, right? So
Yep.
I'm looking at that, and I'm looking for tendencies. I'm looking for at the center how she moves the ball. I'm looking at all of that. But for me, I think the most important thing I do is blend, not blend. That's not the word I want to use. I think the most important thing I do is make sure that I'm cohesive with everyone in the box.
Yeah.
And this is something that I learned well, I don't know if it was something that was taught or just something that came naturally because your box players we were together
The
for a long
trenches,
time,
the trenches, yeah.
right? Yeah. So, and this is something like when I went somewhere else that was not understood. So when I
Right,
say like we have to communicate, I don't mean just repeating back what we hear because yeah, we're
right,
repeating back down the line. When I'm communicating with the person next to me or the person on the end, I could be saying a whole different play and they would never know, but
yeah,
the people next to me would know.
yeah,
I can move a certain way or put my hand in a certain place, and Damon behind me, the linebacker,
yeah,
she knows exactly what I'm about to do because it might not be what the play is,
right,
but I could see something, and she trusts me, and I trust her that if I do this, you come, I'm gonna make that hole. You better go through. It's not always glorious, but you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like we have a very good understanding, and that's my ideal situation. That we are like, you know what I'm thinking, you know how I move, you know when I say scat what I really mean, even if it's not something that we learn, it's just that we've been together so long and
right.
we make it a
That
point to be
chemistry.
cohesive. Yeah.
Yeah,
So when I'm studying, part of my study is making sure that I'm sharing and working with the people next to me and not just so much focused on the people in front of me, because at the end of the day, they still got to stop me. It could be any play. You still got to stop me. So
right.
yeah, that's kind of my thing. Of course, film, of course, habits and stuff like that. But I really like to focus on who's next to me and who's behind me.
Well, I definitely thank you for joining me today. I
No
want to say
problem.
congratulations on the Chicago move. You go from cold to colder to coldest.
Listen, I don't know, but we're going to be playing at the University of Chicago, so I'm hoping that it's like I don't know, I want to feel fancy, so we'll see.
Well, congratulations. Best of luck this year. Definitely be talking more with you. Let's go Chicago win.
Thank you. Let's go, baby. Windy City Barbie out.
I'm your host, Terrence Pitts, aka Pitts, Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Bowie TV. Again, Erica Lynn Moore, defensive tackle, played with the Pittsburgh Passion, played with the New York Wolves, now on her way to Chicago within the Women's National Football League. Let's get
Let's
it.
go, baby.